You're thinking about buying your first motorcycle? Man, that's exciting, but also a little dangerous. And I'm not talking about the riding, because one wrong choice at the dealership and you could end up with a bike that's too fast, too heavy, too expensive, or just straight up wrong for the kind of riding you actually want to do. Trust me, I've seen folks dump thousands into the perfect bike that they sold 2 months later with regret in their eyes and bugs still stuck to the face shield. I've done it myself and it cost me thousands of dollars. But you don't have to be that guy. In this video, I'm going to walk you through the stuff that actually matters. Things no one tells you until after you've made a mistake. We're talking engine sizes, gear that saves your skin, test ride red flags, what to budget for, and yeah, even how to make sure the bike fits your body. No fluff, no dealership BS, just real talk from someone who's been there. So if you want your first bike to be something you'll love and not just a life lesson with handlebars, you're in the right place. Let's do this. Stop scrolling. Before you spend a single dime, or worse, let your buddy who knows about bikes talk you into buying something crazy fast, I need you to hear this. Because this decision, it's not just about what looks cool on Instagram. It's about finding a bike that won't scare the pants off of you the first time you twist the throttle. It's about picking a motorcycle that fits your lifestyle, your body, and your budget, without ending up in a ditch or too deep in debt. I have seen way too many first-timers buy the wrong bike and either crash it, sell it, or leave it sitting in the garage like a monument to a poor decision. But don't worry, that's not going to be you. And look, I am not a professional by any stretch of the imagination, nor do I profess to be. And sure, I come off a bit tongue-in-cheek in my videos, but I am a lifelong learner and I have made a lot of vehicle purchases in my day. And I've had numerous new riders in my family in recent years. So stick with me for a few minutes and I will walk you through exactly what you actually need to know. No dealership fluff, no bro science, just the real talk that gets you onto the right bike right now. All right, first things first, why do you even want a motorcycle? Seriously, before you go scrolling through listings or waltzing into a dealership with hearts in your eyes, take a minute to answer this one question, because your why is the compass that's going to point you to the right kind of ride. Are you looking to beat traffic on your daily commute while feeling like a two-wheeled ninja? Then you probably don't need a 900-pound chrome cruiser with ape hangers. You need something nimble, fuel-efficient, and city-friendly, like a standard or a lightweight commuter bike. Or maybe you want a weekend escape pod, something to help you ditch the stress, chase that horizon, and leave the 9-to-5 world behind you for a few hours. In that case, comfort and power matter. You'll want something that cruises effortlessly and doesn't make your backside cry after an hour in the saddle. Or hey, maybe you just want to look cool. There's no shame in that. We've all imagined ourselves pulling up to the coffee shop and taking off our helmet like it's an action movie. Just know that style-focused bikes usually trade some comfort or practicality for that extra street cred. And some of you may be thinking, well, I'm really not sure yet. I just know I want to ride. And that's valid too. But still, dig a little deeper. Are you picturing long rides through the mountains or weaving through downtown traffic lights? The answer shapes what kind of bike is going to love you back. So pause the scrolling for a second, close your eyes, and imagine that first ride. Where are you going? What does the road look like? Who's riding with you? Or are you solo, just vibing with the wind? That vision, that's your why. Figure out your why, and the what gets way easier. All right, now that you know your why, let's match it to the right kind of bike. Because here's the thing, not all motorcycles are created equal. They may all have two wheels, an engine, and an annoying habit of attracting bugs to your face, but they ride very differently. So here's a breakdown of the main types. First up, cruisers. These are the laid-back lounge chairs of the motorcycle world. Low seat height, stretched out riding position, and a whole lot of chrome. Think Harley-Davidson vibes here. Great for slow rolls around town, showing off at stoplights, and feeling cool without trying too hard. The downside? They're not the best at cornering fast unless dragging pegs or floorboards is your kind of thing. Next up are the standards, bikes like roadsters and naked bikes. These are the Swiss Army knife of motorcycles. They do everything well without any flashy nonsense. They're perfect for commuting, learning, or simple weekend rides. You got a comfortable upright position, and no fairings means less plastic to break if you tip it over. Because let's be honest, it may happen. Now let's talk sport bikes. These are fast, nimble, and aggressive. Kind of like a caffeinated squirrel with a vendetta. They look awesome and go faster than you probably should, but the riding position puts your feet way up, your butt high, and your hands low, like you're folding yourself into a human pretzel. Not ideal for new riders unless you enjoy wrist pain and accidentally going 80 in second gear. Next, let's look at the adventure bikes or dual sports. These guys are tall, rugged, and built like a two-wheeled Jeep. Great for riders who want to do everything: street, gravel, dirt, camping, and crossing rivers, sometimes unintentionally. But fair warning, these bikes are unusually tall. If you're under 5'10", you might feel like you're climbing onto a horse with two wheels. And lastly, let's talk about touring bikes. Think of these as motorcycles that went to business school. Giant fairings, plush seats, cup holders, heated grips, GPS, stereo systems. Basically, it's an RV with handlebars. Perfect for long trips, or if your butt refuses to ride anything else. Just don't expect a lane split through traffic with one of these unless you want to take out a Prius. The trick is not to pick out the coolest looking bike, but the one that actually fits your riding plans. Because nothing's worse than spending thousands on a motorcycle and realizing a couple of months later that you hate riding it. Except maybe realizing that you can't touch the ground at red lights. And engine sizes do vary within each of these categories, and size does matter, which we'll get to in a second. But generally speaking, just make sure you pick the right style bike to match your riding dreams, not just the one that looks best on social media. Look, I get it. You walk into a dealership and the biggest, baddest 1000cc superbike is sitting there staring at you like it's got your name written on it. Shiny paint, aggressive lines, probably a name like Raptor Blade X9000 or something. It looks fun. But here's the reality check. If this is your first bike, that beast is not your friend. Think of it this way. Giving a brand new rider a leader bike is kind of like handing a flamethrower to someone who just learned how to light a match. Sure, it's exciting, but the odds of setting yourself on fire go way up. Better range to look at for your first bike? Most people will say between 300cc and 500cc, and they're not wrong. We started my son out on a CB500F, and it was perfect for his first year, but he would have hated a 300. But he's also a good rider and he had already taken safety courses. So consider your own confidence and readiness when thinking about engine size. These bikes are lighter, easier to control, and way more forgiving when you make mistakes, which you will. Everyone does. The good news is these bikes still have enough power to be a blast, especially when you're just starting out. You can learn proper throttle control, braking, and body position without feeling like you're wrestling a dragon every time you roll onto the highway. And let me let you in on a little secret. Seasoned riders love riding small bikes. Why? Because riding a small bike at its limit is way more fun than trying to tame a power monster that never gets out of second gear. There's a reason why experienced riders smile when they talk about bikes like the Ninja 400. Plus, insurance is cheaper, maintenance is easier, and when you drop it, it won't break your wallet or your spirit. Remember, it's way more fun to ride a slow bike fast than a fast bike slow. Or worse, straight into the ER. Don't let your ego write a check that your riding skills can cash.
Son, your ego is writing checks your body can't cash.
All right, let's answer the age-old question. Should your first bike be a shiny new showroom model or a seasoned, slightly scruffy veteran? Here's the honest truth. Your first bike will get dropped. Maybe not hard, maybe not fast, but at some point, gravity will win around. That's just part of learning. So think about this. Would you rather drop a sparkling new $12,000 motorcycle with flawless paint and 0 miles? Or a $5,000 used bike that already has a few character marks? True story, my son, you know the one I just said was a good rider who had taken safety courses? Yeah, that one. He dropped his bike within the first month of having it. Nothing terrible. He rode hot into the grass to get around cars in the driveway. He stood up on the pegs and the tires slipped out from under him. Very minor damage to the bike, but it was a reality check to his overconfidence that ultimately made him a better rider in the long term. Used bikes are often the smarter move for new riders. They cost less, they've already been broken in, mechanically and emotionally, and they usually won't leave you crying over a dropped clutch or a scraped exhaust. You also get to skip that painful depreciation curve, the one where your brand new bike loses value the moment you roll it off the lot like it's a smartphone from 5 years ago. But, and here's the important part, not all used bikes are created equal. You gotta be smart. Bring a friend who knows what they're doing, or buy from a reputable shop that inspects their inventory. Don't just fall for the $800 Facebook Marketplace special that's been sitting for a while and just needs a new battery. That's usually code word for this thing hasn't run since MySpace was a thing. On the flip side, there are reasons to go new. If you want a factory warranty, easy financing, and the peace of mind that every part on the bike is untouched and in spec, buying new makes sense. Especially if you're the kind of person who likes fresh off the lot reliability and doesn't mind paying a bit more for it. Bottom line, used is often better for your wallet, your nerves, and your learning curve. But if you've got the budget and you want that new bike experience, go for it. Just make sure it's the right bike, not just the shiniest one in the store. But again, just be smart. Bring someone with bike knowledge or buy from a reputable dealer, because a cheap bike that doesn't run is just a sculpture. Now here's a part of the puzzle that a lot of new riders simply overlook. Where do you even find the right bike? And how much should you be paying? First, check with your circle. Family, friends, that guy from work who has a bike but hasn't ridden it in 5 years. You'd be surprised how many bikes are just sitting in garages collecting dust. Sometimes people are happy to let one go for cheap, or even free, just to get the parking space back. A little wrench work, a new battery, and boom. You've got a ride for pennies on the dollar. Next up, private sellers. And yeah, I literally just warned you about Facebook Marketplace in the last section, and that wasn't a lie, but Facebook Marketplace and CycleTrader can be gold mines if you know what to look for. You'll often skip dealer markups, dock fees, and just extraneous nonsense. Just be ready to negotiate and always meet in a safe place. If the ad says needs a little TLC, make sure you bring some tools and a friend who knows what TLC really means. And lastly, yes, you can go through a dealership. It's a solid option if you want financing, warranties, or just peace of mind. But usually, you're going to pay more. Think sales tax, dealer's fees, setup fees, transfer fees if it's new, and sometimes the why the hell is this on my bill fees. Still, it can be worth it for the added support if you're not mechanically inclined or just want that fresh off the floor shine. If you do go to a dealership, just remember that everything is negotiable. The price, any trade-in, the dealer fees, the warranty, the gap insurance, and the finance rate. And laugh here if you want to, but AI is your friend. It's gotten really good these days, and you can find out exactly what's a fair price, a fair finance rate, and fair fees for whatever location you have to be buying from. And ultimately, that's what you're looking for. It's fair. Know what it is, insist on it, and you'll usually get it. But bottom line, and probably most important of all, be prepared to walk away if you don't. Buy with your head, not with your heart. If one gets away, there's always more bikes out there, especially nowadays when sales are way down. Okay, so you've settled on what to pay, but how should you actually pay for it? Let's break it down. First up, cash is king. It's the best method if you've got the funds ready. It's simple, it's fast, and no interest payments. But it does mean parting with a big chunk of change up front. Your next best option is to check your local credit union if you or a family member belongs to one. They'll often offer lower interest rates than big banks or dealerships, and they're usually more flexible and personal with their lending. The downside, it can be slightly more paperwork and you'll need decent credit and a membership. Your next option would be third-party lenders like Lightstream, Lending Club, or your big banks. These type of lenders are great if you want to shop around online and compare rates. But always check the fine print for hidden fees and especially early payoff penalties. And then finally, there's dealership financing. This is going to probably be your most expensive option and the most likely to try and play games with you. But sometimes they offer dealer incentives that might make them better than those other lenders. And if so, it's super convenient, especially if you're already there. They'll often bundle everything for you into one payment. But be cautious because otherwise the rates could end up higher here. And a lot of dealers are going to push extended warranties and other extras that you just don't need. And they'll try to obscure it through a shady shell game playing around with your rates, terms, and negotiated values. Better to go in cash in hand if you're able to. Bottom line, get pre-approved somewhere beforehand if you can. That gives you more negotiating power and helps you avoid finance office surprise fees. Just don't rush it. The right deal often finds the patient rider. And set your budget first, then explore all these routes. Which brings us to the next topic. Let's talk money, because when most folks think motorcycle price, they look at the price on the bike and call it a day. But that's like buying a puppy and forgetting about food, vet visits, and the fact that your shoes are now chew toys. That $4,000 bike on Facebook Marketplace? Yeah, sweet deal. But that's just the cover charge. There's a whole dance floor of expenses waiting for you. Here's what you really need to budget for. Number one, a helmet. And don't skimp here. Your brain deserves at least as much protection as your phone gets in its OtterBox. Then you're gonna need a jacket and gloves and pants and boots. And this is gonna run you easily $200 to $800 depending on the quality of the gear and whether you wanna look like a Power Ranger or a leather-clad rule warrior. And then there's insurance. And this is gonna vary widely depending on the type of the bike, the age of the rider, and your location. A 21-year-old buying a 600cc sport bike in Miami? Oh boy, buckle up, buddy. Again, that CB500F rider in my family we keep talking about? Yeah, he traded up to a GSX 8S this year, and insurance went from $400 a year to $1,000 a year. More engine size equals more risk equals higher premiums. And let's not forget about recurring maintenance. Oil changes, new tires, chain adjustments, and any oopsie repairs. Even reliable bikes need love and brake pads. And of course, tax, tag, and title, because the DMV exists to remind you that freedom isn't free. Oh, and maybe budget a little extra for emergency ibuprofen, because your first long ride might introduce you to muscles that you didn't know existed. Set a budget that includes the whole picture, not just the shiny little metal part. Showing up to ride with no gear, no insurance, and $12 left in your bank account? That's a fashion statement that screams bad idea. And possibly hospital gown chic. Smart riders plan ahead. Great riders budget ahead. And speaking of essential safety gear, let's get one thing straight. Your gear isn't just optional fashion. It's not like picking out a fun hat or themed socks. This stuff is what separates a simple oopsie moment from a full-blown trip to the ER. You've got one brain, one face, and one set of elbows. Protect them like your life depends on it. Because, well, it kind of does. So let's make sure we cover all the basics. You want a DOT or ECE rated helmet. Not just any helmet, not your cousin's old dirt bike helmet from 1998. A legit impact rated lid that fits your head snugly without making you feel like you're wearing a medieval torture device. And you need a motorcycle jacket. Get one with armor in the shoulders, elbows, and back. Leather or textile, it doesn't matter, as long as it's built to survive a slide across pavement instead of shredding like paper. Bonus points if it has vents so you don't roast like a Thanksgiving turkey. If you fall, guess what hits the ground first? Your hands and ankles. Protect them. Even a slow speed tumble can leave your palms looking like you tried to pet a belt sander. You want durable leather, and palm sliders is an added bonus. And you want riding boots or riding shoes. They should go over your ankle, offer solid protection, and not fly off if you stub your toe at 60 miles an hour. And spoiler alert, high tops and sneakers do not count. Lastly, you want some riding pants. Denim alone won't cut it. And yes, I know I'm wearing denim in all of my videos, and most people do. But this is one of those grumpy old dad, do what I say, not what I do moments. If you want optimal protection, get pants with Kevlar lining or padded protection. Otherwise, your knees might end up writing a horror story called The Pavement Diaries. And don't worry, you do not have to look like RoboCop. There are tons of stylish, low-key riding options out there that won't make you look like you're suiting up for a Marvel movie. Bottom line, don't cheap out. Road rash is not a badge of honor. It's a mistake that hurts in the shower. And again, when you try to sleep on it. Smart bikers wear gear, and the smartest bikers wear it on every ride. This one's easy to overlook, but it matters more than you think. You wouldn't buy a new pair of Jordans without trying them on first, right? Same logic applies to a motorcycle, because if the bike doesn't fit you, it doesn't work for you. Start with the basics. Can you put your feet on the ground when you're sitting at a stop? Ideally, you should be able to flat foot the bike or at least get the balls of both feet down. If you're tippy-toeing it like you're sneaking into the kitchen at midnight, that's not a good sign. Next, grab the handlebars. Are you reaching forward awkwardly like you're trying to hug a tree? Are your wrists bent at a weird angle? You're going to be holding those bars a lot, so make sure the position feels natural and doesn't turn your daily ride into an upper body workout. Check your controls too. Can you operate the brake and the clutch levers without feeling like you're doing finger yoga? If you need a PhD in hand mechanics to shift gears or stop safely, it's a nope. And here's a pro tip. While you're sitting on the bike, close your eyes and imagine you're riding it in the real world. Are you cruising on the freeway? Are you weaving through traffic? Are you sitting in stop and go heat for 20 minutes? If the idea of spending time on that bike in those real conditions makes you sigh with dread, it's probably not the one. Quick story, my son is 6'4", and when he was shopping for his first bike, he was dead set that it was going to be the MT-07. He just knew that that was the bike that he wanted. He'd done his research, he'd watched the videos, he'd already shopped online. But when he finally went in to actually look at and sit on the bikes, his knees simply did not fit into the tank pockets. He sat on dozens of bikes before he settled on the right one. It's not always possible, but test rides are gold if you can get one. Even just rolling around a parking lot will let you know a lot about how the bike handles and how you feel on it. If test rides aren't available, sitting on the bike and doing the mental rehearsal we just talked about is the next best thing. Again, to illustrate, when that same son was shopping for an upgrade, he knew it had to be the MT-09. That was until we did some demo rides.
Just getting off one of our Suzuki demo bikes. We'd like your feedback how the bike was.
How was it?
There's a QR code on the outside of the canopy, one of the club pipes.
Well, after I rode the Yamaha MT-09, I was going to joke around and say I know what I'm buying next.
Takes about 30 seconds.
You like this one better?
And then I was,
That's how your ride was.
Suzuki went, no, you're wrong.
Best way to get your
I told me this is better than the I rode the MT-09 and I was like, this is the most fun I've ever had on a motorcycle. This one? And then I rode on this bike and I said, this is just as fun as the MT-09, but it's easier to maneuver and more comfortable. So I might need to look at what these cost.
They're like 9.
Whereas it is fantastic.
It's 9,000.
Comfort leads to confidence, and confidence, that's what keeps the shiny side up. So you found a used bike that looks decent. Great. But before you throw money at it and start naming it, slow down. You've got some detective work to do, because no matter how good it looks in the listing photos, what matters is what's under the tank and behind the shine. So here's a quick checklist to save you from a lemon. Check your tires for cracks, flat spots, or wear that's more uneven than a crooked politician. If the tread looks like racing slicks, budget for replacements as soon as possible. And look for leaks underneath the engine and around the forks. Oil spots, coolant drips, or mysterious puddles. That's your cue to either negotiate hard or walk away like a boss. And your chain and sprockets shouldn't be rusty, bone dry, or hanging loose like a forgotten shoelace. A dry chain means poor maintenance. Worn sprockets with shark fin teeth, you better budget for replacements. And make sure you check those brakes. Feel the lever and the pedal. Do they feel squishy? That's either air in the lines or neglected maintenance. Also, get a look at the brake pads if you can. If they're thinner than a credit card, then they're toast. And try to do a cold start. Ask the seller not to start the bike before you arrive. A bike that only starts when it's warm has secrets, and they're probably expensive ones. If it struggles on a cold start, there could be deeper issues. And you need to be able to make a determination whether blemishes are cosmetic or potentially crash damage. Scratches are normal, but deep gouges, cracked plastics, or mismatched parts, that could be crash damage in disguise. Don't be afraid to ask if it's ever been laid down. And make sure you give the electronics a good once over. Test the lights, the signals, the horn, and the dash. If the dash lights up like a Christmas tree, or worse, if it doesn't light up at all, you could have work ahead. And lastly, run that VIN to check if it's stolen, has a salvage title, or if it's ever been part of a long forgotten insurance claim. You don't want to accidentally write off on someone else's tragedy. And bonus tip, ask about service records. If the owner looks confused and says, it's been a while, that could be code for, I don't even know what maintenance is. Unless it's a screaming good deal and you know how to wrench on a bike, maybe move on. Be friendly, but be thorough, and don't be afraid to walk away. Again, there are always more bikes out there. A great deal isn't a great deal if it turns into a garage ornament with a repair list longer than your arm. Like we've already said, buying the bike is just the beginning. You're not just committing to a machine, you're committing to a relationship. And like any good relationship, it takes time, effort, and yep, a little money. Some bikes are low maintenance sweethearts, but others, high maintenance divas that need attention constantly, or they start leaking, squeaking, or throwing check engine lights at you like emotional baggage. If you're buying used person to person, then someone may legitimately not know all the maintenance costs. But if you're buying from a dealer, they should be able to answer all these questions. So here's what you need to ask before you buy to understand what kind of relationship you're about to get yourself into. Ask about valve adjustments. Some bikes need their valves checked and adjusted every 6,000 miles. Others, maybe not until 15,000 or more. If you're not doing it yourself, this can cost a few $100 at the shop, and it adds up fast. And ask how often the oil needs to be changed and whether the bike has an oil filter that's easy to access. On some bikes, it's a 20-minute job. On others, you might need to remove half the bodywork. I'm looking at you, sport bikes. And you need to understand the differences between chain, shaft, and belt drives. Chain-driven bikes are lighter and cheaper, but they require regular cleaning and lubrication. Miss a few maintenance intervals and suddenly your chain looks like it's auditioning for a horror movie. Shaft-driven bikes, they're lower maintenance, but heavier and a bit more expensive to service if something goes wrong. And ask about parts availability. Is this a well-known brand with parts readily available, or some obscure import where getting a new clutch lever means waiting 3 weeks and learning Japanese? I'm just saying, it matters. And what are those tires and other wearable parts going to cost you? Sport bikes especially go through tires faster than you think. And some larger cruisers need specialized tires that aren't always cheap. Owning a motorcycle isn't just about the ride, it's about keeping it ride ready. So don't just ask what it costs to buy. Ask what it costs to own, maintain, and love over time. The best bike isn't just the one that you can afford to buy now, it's the one that you can afford to keep on the road. So here's the thing, you can't just walk into a dealership, throw somebody a wad of cash, and then ride off into the sunset like it's a Clint Eastwood movie. Well, I guess you can, but unless you want your first ride to end with a ticket, or worse, let's make sure you're legal first. Every state has different rules, but here are the basic ones that you're going to want to look into. Most states require you to have a motorcycle endorsement on your driver's license. Some let you take a riding test at the DMV. Others will waive that test if you complete a certified safety course, which we highly recommend. These classes are pure gold for beginners. You'll learn how to actually control a bike, avoid bad situations, and what to do if something goes sideways. Plus, as a bonus, some states will let you skip the DMV test if you pass the MSF course. And double bonus, many insurance companies give you a discount for completing it. And just like with a car, most states require minimum motorcycle insurance. Even if it's not legally required where you live, it's a very smart idea. One accident, your fault or not, can be financially devastating without coverage. And yes, you gotta register the bike and pay sales tax on it. Unless you enjoy surprise letters from the DMV, take care of this right after you buy the bike. Check your state's DMV or Department of Transportation website and read the fine print. It's boring, but it's necessary. And don't skip this step. You wouldn't ride without a helmet. Don't ride without knowing the rules either. Smart bikers stay safe, legal, and on the road, not explaining things to a judge. Okay, let's revisit the engine size debate because I don't want you to feel like you're settling. Let's be real here. Unless you're independently wealthy, your first motorcycle probably isn't going to be the dream machine you fantasize about while watching Chase on Two Wheels bike review videos at 2 a.m. And that's perfectly fine. This is not supposed to be your forever bike. It's your first step into a whole new world. And like most first steps, it's okay if it's a little bit wobbly. Starting small doesn't mean settling. It means setting yourself up to actually learn and grow as a rider. It's the bike that helps you figure out what's your riding style, what features matter to you, and how much bike can you comfortably handle. You're developing your skills, not building your garage trophy room. Yet. You might start on a Ninja 400 or a Rebel 500, or maybe even just a 250cc dual sport. They're light, forgiving, and way more fun than they get credit for. More importantly, they teach you how to ride without punishing you for every small mistake like bigger, heavier, faster bikes tend to do. And once you've got a few thousand miles on your belt, that's when the magic happens. You'll feel more confident and you'll actually understand what kind of riding you actually enjoy. And suddenly, you'll know exactly what you want in your next bike, because now you've earned the right to choose it with experience, not just excitement. Think of your first bike like your first apartment. Functional, fun, maybe a little weird, and filled with lessons. But it gets the job done while you figure yourself out. And before long, you'll be ready to move up to something that actually feels like home on two wheels. Alright, if you made it this far, you're officially way ahead of the average first-time rider. Most folks jump on whatever looks cool and figure it out the hard way. And about 40 to 50% of YouTube viewers have stopped watching videos of this length after about 30 seconds. But not you. Now you know how to pick the right bike, dodge the beginner traps, budget smart, and gear up like you've been riding for years. And trust me, your future self is going to thank you when you're cruising down the road with confidence instead of clutching a receipt and a regret. If this video helped you out, give it a thumbs up so more future riders can avoid these rookie mistakes. And hey, subscribe while you're here. We've got plenty more two-wheeled adventures coming your way. You got a question or a story, maybe a bike you've been eyeing? Drop it in the comments. I try to read every single one. In the meantime, ride hard, stay salty, and welcome to the club.